About a month ago, I moved back to the USA, and I'm going to walk you through 17 of the biggest reverse culture shocks that I've experienced being back thus far. Everything from portion sizes to guns to the very last one that's actually going to announce a little bit of what's coming in the next chapters and videos. But we're going to go check some of these out here at the American Embassy, and we're going to kind of start at some of the let's say more tame ones, and the last few are, going to be more of the quite shocking ones. Come on with me. All right, let's start this off with number 17, and this one might be a little bit of a hot take. It is the thing that I miss the most living abroad, but also something that I'm really finding overwhelming after being back home a little bit, and that is Southern hospitality. I really love how warm and generally inviting everybody is here. In the South and in the U.S., but I will say, I kind of maybe have adopted, maybe a little bit more of the Danish way of life, being a bit more reserved and to myself over the last few years. I find myself in conversations that I'm trying to escape from. Case in point, yesterday I was at the car wash, washing up my new truck, which we're going to talk about later in the video, and I ran into a guy that I had no clue who he was, but he told me how old he was, and he told me where he was from, and I was like, he probably knows my dad. He went to high school with my dad, friends with my brother on Facebook, ask how he's recovering after his illness, and it just makes you realize, that you might find yourself locked in a 10-minute conversation of somebody that knows all these things about you that you don't know. So part of it does kind of make me miss that reserved kind of privacy that you get more so living in Denmark than you do here in small town Southern hospitality USA. Number 16 is about how everything is open 24 hours. I won't go too deep on this one. I know that I've talked about this before, but here even in my hometown, if you want a full meal at 3 a.m. in the morning, if you need a car battery, if you need anything, you can get your hands on it at any hour of the day. Everything here is designed in such a consumeristic, I don't know if that's a real word, in this kind of way that you can just get whatever you want at any hour you want. It is convenient at times, and everything here is built for maximum convenience, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessary. So, had a little bit of trouble getting used to that. Speaking of things that I've had a hard time getting used to, the tipping situation, in Denmark, it's not really something that's required, and, is really kind of based on, if you get some kind of spectacular above and beyond service. But I just had a little coffee and a pastry here this morning, and they definitely presented me with that tip line after I, chose the items that I wanted. So everywhere you go, you pay the price of the food, you get the sales tax added on top of that, and then they ask you for a tip. So, I don't know. I think I'm kind of gravitating towards the European system. Imagine that. Paying someone a living wage and, not asking for nickel and dimes every time you buy something. Number 14 has to do with the sheer size of American houses. So, we actually are in the neighborhood where my mother lives. And this is just to show the size of some of these houses. I know that this is just not the same scale as a lot of the rest of the world operates on. And I know for a fact, this house that we're looking at right here is, I don't know what is the square meter calculation, probably around 500 or 600 square meters. And it's lived in by 2 people. It does not house a family of 10 or 5 or 3. It houses 2 people. So the scale, and this isn't, a microcosm. I would say that these are, on the larger end, but houses and the scale of houses in the U.S. are just a totally different ballgame than the U.S. And it makes me realize, why do people need this much space? And I think the answer is that they don't. It is just what everybody's gotten used to, and everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses and impress their neighbors. So this has been a big shock coming back. Number 13 has to do with everything being built for the automobile. So, living in Denmark, I was so used to walking everywhere or riding my bike. And here, after being back for a month, I haven't walked anywhere and haven't ridden my bike a single time. Everything here is so spread out. Everything is built for the automobile. Literally auto parts stores there, a drive-through burger restaurant there, a tire and brake automotive shop there, a car wash here, and I'm in the car as we speak. So just a case in point of how everything really is built kind of in this automobile-centric way of thinking. We do have one person here bending over, smiling for the camera, I guess you can say, walking down the sidewalk, but you really don't see it often, and everything here really is built for the automobile. Number 12 is megachurches. Behind me, you can see the Summit Church. This is our local hometown branch of a megachurch that serves around 11,000 people on a weekly basis. These megachurches have become super popular in the U.S. over the last 20, 30 years, and in other parts of the U.S. definitely before that. But they have large congregations. This particular church is very casual, very laid back. You can dress like this in church. They have a fun rock band that plays, very kind of contemporary music. Usually have some young, cool, charismatic leader in front, that is feeling like more of a broadcast than it is a sermon. It's, very, modern and not, it doesn't have the same, tradition of it that, a lot of normal church services have. And, I know a lot of the common denominator about a lot of these megachurches is, there's always some transparency around taxation and where they get their money from and the donations and the tithing from the congregation. But I know for me, this has been one thing that has been a big shock. And something that it's just a little hard to get used to. Number 11 is simply Walmart. You can get everything in this store, whether you need milk, you need food, you need toys, you need a gun, you need house paint, you need deodorant, whatever you want, a car battery, you need to get your tires changed, you need to get photos developed, anything that you need, you can get in Walmart. See, I'm in an aisle full of rugs, whatever you need. Lava lamps, if you need a Spider-Man lava lamp, you can get it here at Walmart. There's so much variety and so many things you can get under one roof. And I think the part that makes this place work is you buy everything in so much bulk, you can get everything for really cheap. It is just the cheapest place to get anything. I've bought groceries at the local store and then at Walmart, and it is about 30% cheaper to buy your groceries and buy everything here at Walmart. So while, it's easy to hate because it's such a big company, it is an easy thing because there are so many options and so much variety under one roof. Number 10 has to deal with the variety and abundance. So we are currently on the cereal aisle in Walmart at the moment. And I'm used to, the places I've lived over the last 10 years, the cereal section being 4, maybe 5 varieties. And we are still filing by options. And it's not just cereal. It's jam. This is all jam possibilities. And look, peanut butter. There are 40 different kinds of peanut butter. Everything here, you have a variety of options. There's so much to choose from. I love it and I hate it at the same time. Number 9 has to do with the ingredients that are allowed in foods here in the US. It's one of my favorites. But here in the US, Coca-Cola is not sweetened with sugar. It is sweetened with high fructose corn syrup. A lot of the ingredients in American foods would simply be outlawed in the European Union. A lot of the dyes, a lot of the preservatives that we allow in food are just simply illegal in most other places in the world. And my favorite, Coca-Cola, it's just not the same without real sugar in it. Number 8, the portions are medically alarming. So I've just sat down for lunch, and as soon as the order came, this was a small drink, and this is a portion of food for one person. This weighs about a kilogram and probably has enough caloric content for one entire day of eating. But anyway, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to go next door. I'm going to show you a couple of other things that might shock you. Number 7 is the obesity crisis. So this is a very real thing in the US, and I can comfortably say that because I was once part of that. Within the last year, I have lost about 25 or so kilograms, but before, I was quite a hefty boy, and it's all because, in my opinion, we are absolutely surrounded by all of these unhealthy food choices, so many addictive, sugary substances that we are confronted with on a daily basis, and it is really difficult to make healthy choices. And when you use your car to get around everywhere, you can go get that food at 2 a.m. if you want it. You can have that sugary soda, you can go get the ice cream, and being that you have your car, you don't need to walk, you don't need to ride your bike, you don't need to have any kind of physical activity. So it's very easy to live a sedentary lifestyle where you just eat crappy food and don't do any physical activity here in the US. It's a sad reality, but it is a reality nonetheless. Number 6, guns are just casually a part of everyday life here at the local Walmart. You can get your bread, you can get your milk, you can also get a hunting rifle, you can get ammunition, you can get just about everything you need here. People are so desensitized to it because they're everywhere. They're part of life. You see many people carrying them on their hips. Then you can casually go over here, grab some shotgun shells if you need them for your hunt or defense or whatever you're going to use them for. But yeah, that has just been a big shock, the fact that you can just go buy a gun off of the shelf in a superstore like this. That's a shock. We're shocked. I'm shocked. This is my shocked face. Number 5 is how normalized gun violence is. And I really, really hate that I'm making this point, but I think it needs to be said. Within the last week, within 100 miles of where I live here in central North Carolina, there have been two mass shootings. One at a party somewhere near Raleigh, North Carolina, and the second was in a park with some young teens, a fight that escalated earlier this week. So that is two mass shootings within 1 week, within 100 kilometers of my little quiet hometown here in central North Carolina. That's not normal. I don't know if I'm going to get used to that, but it's sad that it is the world that we live in here in the US, and that it is normal. And I guarantee you I can go up to someone on the street and ask them about them, and they won't even have heard of those 2 incidents. Yeah. It's sad, and I think it's one thing that I just will not get used to. Number 4 is something that wasn't always a thing here, especially in my hometown, but it's just how visible, poverty and homelessness has become. Within the last 12 hours here on the little downtown street in my hometown, I've been asked for money by somebody begging on the street. That never used to happen, and is especially a contrast based on life in Copenhagen, where you really don't see, people begging on the street that often. You do see it some. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but not to the level it is here. And, in my hometown, it's not really a hot area. It isn't an area where you see a lot of homelessness, but it is very, very, very visible in certain places. I'll put up some shots of Skid Row in places like this, but it's definitely a real issue here in the US, but it also makes sense. There isn't the same social safety net as you have in other parts of the world. So a very real issue that we deal with here in the US. Number 3 has to do with the news here in the US being engineered to keep everybody afraid and keep everybody's eyes on the screen. Case in point, I sat down on the couch here to find something on the TV to display this point, and my mom sat down beside me, and she opened up her phone, and as soon as she did, this is exactly what played.
Now has 3 sources confirming that a person has been detained in connection with the Nancy Guthrie case. Those 3 sources coming to us, I need...
Case in point. Everything that you see from a news media perspective here is to get people excited, to get their views, to get them scared. It's created all of the news here. Number 2 is healthcare anxiety. And I know this is something that I have talked about before, and if you've seen my video on my 25 American norms that shocked the European brain, I don't know if that's the exact right title, I'll link it here. I've talked about this before, but something I've realized in the last month being home, I have a motorcycle, and I've been thinking about getting it, making some few mechanical repairs and getting it registered and insured, ready to ride, but I've decided not to. Just because at the moment, just being freshly back, I don't have health insurance. And if I were to have some sort of small mishap on the motorcycle, that could literally take every single penny of financial well-being, every single bit of money that I have. So I won't be riding the motorcycle. But it is a very big reality, the cost of healthcare and how much of a strain that can be living here in the U.S. And I will say, it's been a tricky subject for me because it is nice to have everything covered and be, completely covered by your taxes while living in Denmark. But at the same time, the level of care is just on a different level that you get here in the U.S. And I know you do pay for it, but, kind of I don't know exactly which way I feel, but I will say living in a world where I now have made a decision based on the cost of healthcare, you start to see the reality of it. And number 1, everything is massive. Case in point, this truck. So, whether it be the portions, the stores, the selections, the vehicles, everything in the U.S. is supersized. And this actually just happens to be my truck, my new truck. And this is what is going to take me across the U.S. Let's, maybe we can hop inside and check it out. But this is my travel light truck camper sitting on a 2014 Ford F-250. 4x4, of course, with a V8 gas guzzler. Maybe we can hop inside and take a look. Actually, you know what? You're going to have to hang out and wait for the next video. The rig tour is coming soon. Subscribe, stay tuned. That's coming next. See you guys soon.